Jennifer.
Today we are on day 13 of the Bible recap. We're in Job 35 through 37. So, starting with our summary, starting at verse 35, or chapter 35, Elihu, he's talking to Job and reminding him of God's power, God's majesty, his justice, like his just who God is. Elihu says that nothing can change God's status, but he's assuming that Job was trying to kind of persuade God in his section in 35. He tells him in verse 12, he says, when they cry out, God does not answer because of the pride. But you can't really judge God and say that God did anything wrong by not answering their prayers. And 36, Elihu is just continuing. I wrote down in verse 13, he's kind of proving that he is kind of like maybe a godless or angry person. Because in verse 13, it says, for the godless are full of resentment, which means full of anger. And in the very beginning, when he starts talking, he's very angry. So is he kind of like doesn't realize he's calling himself out a little bit, to where it's like, dude, you were being just like the godless that you were talking about.
Right.
And I got from that just like anger makes you very arrogant, and you kind of it clouds your judgment. And we go to 37, and it's still continue with his speech to Job. In 37, he's talking about the power and the might of God. And then he's like all the friends, they're still saying for Job to turn away because Job has done something, because God is so powerful, he can see all. You had to have done something to anger him, to
Bring the punishment.
His punishment, God's wrath upon him.
Yeah.
And he's very arrogant, thinking that he is wise and that let me defend God, because God needs somebody to defend him. God definitely doesn't need anybody to say anything for him. God speaks for himself. But that ends our summary.
Yay. So we're going to jump into our study guide for day 14.
It's day 13.
For day 13, number 1 asks, summarize the two complementary statements Elihu makes in chapter 35, verses 5 to 7. So, chapter 35, verses 5 to 7. Look up into the sky and see the clouds high above you. If you sin, how does that affect God? Even if you sin again and again, what effect will it have on him? If you are good, is this some great gift to him? What could you possibly give him? So, summarize those two statements. I mean, he's basically saying that what you do, good or bad, has no effect on God.
No.
Like it doesn't change anything about who he is.
I said the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I said, if we sin, doesn't affect God? If we are good, is it a gift? No matter what we do, it does not affect who God is.
Right.
God is God regardless of if we fail or do good. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Right.
He's still God. He's the one that created everything. He's still powerful. He's still mighty. He still knows all. He sees all. He's still wisdom.
I'm sure it disappoints him or hurts him when we
Yeah, but it doesn't
sin,
catch him by
or if we
surprise.
right, it's not like he didn't know, but he's maybe has that hope that
He's the same.
we'll go a
He
different way.
was
But
yesterday, today, and will always be. Yeah. He's never changing.
yeah.
That's the good thing about who God is. Like he's never changing, which means his mercy never changes. His forgiveness never changes. His love, his commitment to us never changes. It also means that his wrath and his punishment are never changing. They're always constant. It is a part of who he is.
Number 2, in 36 verses 1 through 4, Elihu claims to be speaking on God's behalf. Based on what we've read so far, does he seem to be right or wrong in this claim? Why or why not? So, chapter 36, verses 1 through 4.
So Elihu continues speaking. Let me go on, and I will show you the truth, for I have not finished defending God. I will present profound arguments from the righteousness of my Creator. I am telling you nothing but the truth, for I am a man of great knowledge.
All right, so based on what we've read so far, does he seem to be right or wrong in this claim? Why or why not? I will present profound arguments, and then I'm a man of great knowledge. I mean, I think that goes back to that wisdom thing.
What he has said about who God is, like, I would say that he would seem to be right because he kind of hits the nail on the head with who God is, how powerful God is. Like in 36, starting at verse 26, he's talking about how God, he draws up the water vapor and distills it into rain. Like, imagine that, like, water vapors, like, he's extracting it and making it into rain.
Right.
Like, so powerful. And if we believe that God is all powerful, all knowing, like, he can do all of these things. So I would say that he would be right.
So he's right about God's character and who God is.
Yeah.
But he's not right on the aspect to speak for
Oh,
God's
he's
behalf
definitely wrong about
or defending him.
trying to defend God. God doesn't need man to
Right.
defend him.
So, like, in his claim of, I'm a man of great knowledge, like, I think that goes back to that wisdom thing. Like, he has knowledge, but he doesn't have that overall
he said he has knowledge, but
wisdom,
he doesn't
that
have
comes
wisdom.
from God, right? Yeah. So,
I mean, we know he's still young compared to everybody, so that might make sense right there.
maybe. Was it Elihu that was that young?
Yeah, he was younger than all of them. All the elders were speaking with Job. And he decided he was going to sit back and be quiet because they were elders. They were wise.
Yeah. Number 3 asks, the godless in heart cherish anger. Chapter 36, verse 13. Think of a time when you cherished anger. What were you angry about? Was it something that angers God too? Did cherishing anger draw you closer to God?
So with my father, he wasn't there in my life. Like, I was always angry for it or angry about it. And then I, even though I stayed bitter and angry for a very long time, 10 plus years or so, eventually I was able to see past it and let God be in control of the situation. So once the anger subsided to where it was able to not be the primary feeling in there, God was able to use it for something better. But I had to be angry first.
Right.
Like I don't need to be angry, but like with what happened, like anger was the product of that. And then I was able to move forward and have healing and recovery and like closure. Like
Would it? Do you think it would be something that angered God too?
I think on both sides, probably. You know, a father's not supposed to do what my father did to his children. And looking at it from a now a parent's point of view, having my own, yeah, I would say God would have been angry with my dad, but probably also with how I handled it. Like there was a better way to do it, but you know, like 15, 20 years worth of trauma that I had to deal with, and
Right.
as a young man, like trying to deal with that and not having a father figure or a man to lead me, to disciple me, to mentor me. Like I had to figure that out for myself. It's hard for a young person, let alone a man, to be able to do. 20 years is a long time. We got through it. Like it's better now. Like
Yeah. So I have, you know, before the wedding,
yes,
all of
yes.
all of the family stuff that occurred before our wedding, and
Mm.
I said it possibly angered God with how we all kind of handled everything. Like in that moment, it didn't necessarily bring me closer to Him being angry. Because that anger, almost like you go down a rabbit hole, because now you're angry and you're trying to see, like, oh, why did they do this, why did they do that, I don't understand this. And it's difficult. And I know, like, even in those moments where I wanted things to be different, I wanted things to be better, I know that I wanted to handle things differently, and fix things. Like, eventually it brought us closer to God, and eventually we got together. But you know what I mean? Like,
God can use anger to
right,
shape things and to move things. Like even if it's not ideal and it's not exactly how he wants it, he can still use whatever situation it is,
right.
whether it's good, bad, ugly, falling apart, together with duct tape. Like it don't
Well,
matter.
he
He
definitely
he can
used
he
that
can use
situation.
and move in a situation to now make this broken piece of pottery into the most exquisite piece of like
Art.
art museum.
Art museum.
Art museum
But yeah, no,
and
like,
art museum.
but no, like, he definitely used all of that,
No,
because he used it in such a way that now, you know, we've reconciled
he
with,
used it for our growth
right,
too.
but so we reconciled with everybody, and now we're seeing that we're coming up with different issues. Um, and instead of us wanting to allow these issues to break us up again, we're trying to intentionally find different ways to handle it.
Yeah.
How can we handle it in a way that God would like? How can we do this to promote unity instead of that separation and division? So, did he like separation and division? No. We know that he likes unity. But we needed that separation and division to show us how to bring about the unity that we have now. So, yeah.
Gentiles and the Jews were separate, and then Jesus brought them together. He said that the Gentiles can have the blessing of the Israelites because they were choosing not to believe in him.
Right. Well, eventually, Jesus wants us all at the same table. So,
Yeah.
It's slowly but surely.
Different conversation. Because we're still not Israel, we're still Gentiles.
So, number 4, in chapter 36, verse 21, Elihu seems to be saying that people use pain as an excuse to sin. Give us some examples, personalized or generalized, of how this might manifest. Well, I guess so. A general example would definitely be people using their pain in addiction to sin. Because they're wanting to numb that pain, numb that feeling, whatever it is that ends up causing the addiction. And it's not, I don't think that they necessarily are trying to constantly sin in that way, but sometimes it does become a crutch. It does become an excuse because but I'm hurting inside and I don't want to hurt anymore. And a lot of times they're in a place where they're like, I don't know what else to do. So they resort to this. I think other ones are like, losing a child or a loved one. For me, I could see when I went through postpartum depression, that pain, like that, losing myself in that way kind of cost my moral judgment. It wasn't really there for me. It's not that I didn't know what was right and what was wrong, just my compass wasn't as strong right then. I kind of saw gray areas and was like, well, or in the moment, because it comforted the pain, it numbed whatever it was that I was experiencing. So it was easier to choose that than to go through the pain and deal with whatever that might bring. You got nothing?
Follow that?
I mean, you could. Just general or,
Yeah.
If not, that's okay too.
So I have a personal example from my life. In 2012, my mom was pregnant, supposed to have a little boy, uh, full term, stillbirth. My I had great plans and ideas about how I wanted to be a better brother, be more involved with being a better person for this little kid. And he died. Uh, I turned to sex, to like working myself to the bone, like just constantly being at work or at a school function, constantly just feeling the emptiness, trying to get through it.
Numb the pain, yeah.
Uh, like all of the like she was saying, like it just numbed it to where it didn't really have like a hole to where it doesn't really. It's just more like just like, oh, it's there, like can't really tell. Like it was able to be overlooked at the time, and like looking back on it, didn't really like it affected me, but not really affected me to where I chose lots of bad things to do. Like I chose to dig into school and to work and to sports. Like, yeah, I dug into some other stuff as, a teenager, like sex and like drinking and stuff. Like, those kind of things were kind of common. Like, it wasn't really like I was fully turning into that, but I really dug into school, into working, into wrestling in high school. Like, I made it fill up all of my free time to where I didn't have a quiet moment to where I can be like, okay, I'm thinking about it. It's making me sad. Or if I did, it would be, oh, let me go call this girl up. Like, instantly, I wouldn't want to deal with that. But it can manifest in lots of different ways. Like,
Yep.
like anything, honestly. Anything you can use as an excuse. Oh, I need to go do laundry. That could be an excuse to use it to hide your pain.
Right.
Like, or to get away from your pain. And like lying to yourself, is it a sin to lie to yourself and say like, I'm okay, this is okay, I'm gonna just do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this and do this, and ignore how it's actually making me feel? Like, is that a sin? Like, we're not supposed to lie. If we're lying to ourselves, like, that, I feel like that is a problem.
Well, God wants you to go through it. Your emotions are not um, something that are supposed to dictate how you're going, which way you're going. They are indicators, like when your check engine light comes on, you're supposed to check your engine. There's something going on in there, so we need to bring it to the mechanic and they can tell you what's wrong, and then you get the problem fixed. When we've got things going on, we're supposed to bring it to him and he'll let us know what it is that we need to be fixing. We're not supposed to try and fix it ourselves. You're a mechanic. What happens when people try and fix it themselves?
Usually gets worse.
So, like our emotions are indicators. We're supposed to go through that pain because that's the only way out of that pain, like by processing it.
Yeah.
But that's all for today's questions. So we can get into our journal. So for day 14, today was deep. Day 13. Sorry, I keep saying 14. Okay. The things you loved, learned, and noticed. So I have marked chapter 36, verses 8 through 10. So 36, 8 through 10 just says, if they are bound in chains and caught up in a web of trouble, he shows them the reason. He shows them their sins of pride. He gets their attention and commands that they turn from evil. So, like God will get our attention when we're doing something wrong. It's that conviction that comes over us, and I really enjoyed that Elihu said that. So it kind of makes him seem like, maybe you are a little wiser than, we're giving you credit for. um, and then 36:15, but by means of their suffering, he rescues those who suffer, for he gets their attention through adversity. So again, he's, telling you he's going to get your attention through adversity. So he's going to get your attention through issues and he will rescue you. Like, I really enjoyed that he said that. I was like, okay, like, those are great things to be saying, but
Yeah, he gets it right half of the time.
Yeah.
He's just not right about Job.
Yeah.
None of them are. Like, if they would just, like, realize that maybe Job is on to something. Maybe he didn't do something.
Yeah.
Maybe just have a little bit of faith in this great man that has always been there for everybody.
Yeah, you think.
Like, have some faith in him. Like, if Job's saying he didn't do anything, I believe you. I'm gonna go pray to God for you and ask God to help since he hasn't done anything.
Right. Yeah, maybe it could have helped if others were praying on his behalf also.
Yeah. Instead of just telling him he's the reason.
Looking down on him and gossiping about him as it seems that everybody around him was. Did you have anything?
Yeah, so I noticed in 35 from 12 down to 14, it says, and when they cry out, God does not answer because of their pride. So with that, I got that pride gets in the way. Like, if we're too prideful, God's not going to hear us because we're asking because we want this. And this past week, I came to a realization that I was being really proud and using a lot of the I won't, I am. Like, why am I not? Like,
Right.
it, I was being very prideful, and I realized I need to put my pride down and put it to the side. Like, it's okay to be proud of stuff, but to have it be in charge,
Right.
like, that's where the problem comes in. God needs to be in charge. It needs to be about what God wants and what is his timing, not what I want and what my time is.
Right. What's going to glorify him?
No.
Yeah.
And then it goes on, but it is wrong to say God doesn't listen. Like, so he still listens to us, even when we're being proud and prideful. Like, he still listens to it, and he's still concerned with it, but he's not gonna just jump to answer a proud prayer. Like, he wants us to be humble. Come to him humbly and ask. And then a little bit later it says in verse 14, but he will bring justice if you will only wait. So from what I got the wait, like, wait for God to answer. When you ask a prayer, even if you're doing it proudly, don't immediately go and be like, God, I prayed about it, I'm gonna go do it now. Pray and ask for God. Let his will, like, God, I want this. What do you say about it?
Or like,
And you wait.
yeah.
And you don't do nothing. You pray it and be like, come back to me when you're ready, God, because it's your time. I'm gonna go on and do all the other stuff I'm supposed to be doing. Eventually, God will tell you and instruct you and lead you where you need to go. Or he may tell you, no, we're not gonna do that. It's a bad idea.
Right. It's going to be in his time. And we're in an era that is in instant
Give me now.
gratification.
Now.
Right. So,
Yep.
everything is at our fingertips. We have no more commercials on TV, so even ads that come up now, you're clicking that skip button as quickly as you can to get to what it is that you want to see.
5 seconds they're sitting there like hovering.
And you're like, come on, let me click it. Like, we have to wait and we have to be okay in the waiting. God shows
No.
us more in that wait a lot of times, and maybe that waiting is for long enough for us to kind of change our mind and find something that will better suit us, because maybe we don't really want what we think we want, and maybe if we took the time to actually
See, and
really think about
sometimes
it and
God will
look at
give
it.
us what we want, knowing that it's not going to turn out good.
Right, he's gonna
He
allow
he
you.
lets us sit in our own mess.
Yeah, he'll be like, all right, you
It's like a
want it.
parent. Like, you see them over there, they're making a sandwich or whatever. And you're sitting back and you're watching, like, you didn't put any kind of meat or anything on this. It's just bread. And then they go take a bite. And they're like, oh, this is nasty. I was like, yeah, you didn't put anything on it that was good.
Right.
Like, just he's observing us, and like he sees all the steps forward, all the steps that got us to where we are. Like he sees it, but he's not going to control us and take away our free will to make us do what he wants us to do. He lets us choose, and we unfortunately typically choose wrong because we're not seeking his glory, his timing,
Will.
his will. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now the questions and things that you want to research. Mine is just blank. I didn't have anything for today that I wanted to look up, and nothing stood out that I needed to ask. Did you have anything?
I thought I did, but
No. Yeah, today was it was easier, I think, to read this section.
so I had a question. It was how God speaks, and it's not really like a question, but it was something that I wrote down just to kind of like think about. And then chapter 37, like it's talking about God, how He uses the earth to speak, and and then I read a little bit further too into 38, which is tomorrow's, like, and you see kind of like who God is, like who God says He is, how powerful God says He is. Like, God uses everything that is around us, everything that we experience to speak of Him, His greatness, His majesty, like His power. He uses all of it for His glory, to use filthy, dirty, throwaway rags to spread His glory. He uses us, those rags, to spread His glory, to spread the word about Him. Like, it's crazy to think about. Like, it's not really a question, but it's something I was just like, how does God speak to us? Like, he speaks to us in everything.
Yeah, it's through everything.
Like
Music, words.
like you can
written.
walk outside and it's a beautiful sunrise. That's God saying, "Good morning. I woke you up today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Blessed are you because I woke you. You could have stayed in there sleeping."
I think if you,
Like,
like how we're trying to look for where God is on these pages through our God shots, we need to be doing that throughout the day. Where is
yeah,
God throughout our day?
He's
He's
everywhere.
literally everywhere, every step of the way. We just have to be constantly and consciously.
He's that old
like,
man
looking
that's
for
sitting
it.
on his porch as you're driving to work. He's the couple in their car talking to each other as you pass them getting you some food. He's the smile of the person in the drive-through that said, "Have a good day." Like, he's there. We just have to look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And see how great God is.
So speaking of that, let's get into the God shots.
I think I just covered mine.
You might have, yeah. So I have, God listens and is concerned when it comes to us. Like a parent, he wants to correct us. He wants to rescue us. He's our rescuer. Like us to cry out to him so he can answer and rescue us. Like that is, I think that's pretty neat. And it's hard when it's very difficult for me to be vulnerable or cry out and allow somebody else to rescue me. So I think
See, the good thing is about God, He knows already. You don't have to be vulnerable. He already knows, which means there's no reason why you should keep a wall up around Him.
Well, right, yeah, no,
He
he already
already knows, which
but
means
it's so
He's just waiting for you to say, hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, I need you.
Right.
You don't even have to say what it is. God, I need you. And he's like, I know you do.
Yeah.
I'm here.
It's like, I was just waiting for you to talk to me.
Yeah, just reach out. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
Just be like, God. You ain't gotta say nothing else. He's like,
Yeah.
I got you, bro. Hey, don't worry.
Yeah. So, all right. So then our quote for today: we can rest knowing God's working in all things for His glory and our joy.
Amen.
So, you know.
Amen.
Well, that's all for our journal today. You know, day 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're almost finished with week 2.
I said his glory like 15 times, guys.
But it is for His glory. Like, what we
it,
do is
it's
to
all
glorify
his
Him.
glory. Like,
Yeah.
there's no credit that anybody can take but him.
Right.
All credit belongs to him. All finances belong to him. All possessions on this world belong to him. Nothing is ours. He's just basically loaned it out to us.
Right.
And we're his stewards. We hold his possessions and we manage them. We're supposed to manage them well so that we can give them back to him and more of an abundance and help his kingdom prosper. Like, for his glory, his kingdom.
Yeah.
It's not about our kingdom. Like, it's his will. Our will means nothing. At least that's what I'm trying to really like learn. Like, not like learn, I know it, but like instill it in me where it's not about Hunter. It's not about me. It's not about Jennifer. It's not about the kids. It's not about nobody. It's about God. What does God want for my life? Because you get that question, everything else underneath, cake. Easy. Because he's gonna answer those questions. He's the answer. Like, he's already thought to the end of my life. He knows how to get me from this point to that point with not no struggle, but like he has no struggle knowing what to do, what steps to put in place, what people to put in my life. Well, thank you for coming today. We are Unbreakable Faith, and we will see you next time.